Hello, Brookie and Eli. Well, Brooke, this is a story that I used to love when I was a kid, and I had a very, very pretty book of this story. It was beautifully painted. This was the one I could find. I wish I had my old one that I could share with you, but it's called The 12 Dancing Princesses. I love this story. I wanted to share it with you. And this is retold and illustrated by Bridget Barringer. Okay, the 12 Dancing Princesses. Oh, look at them all in all their pretty colors. Once upon a time, in a kingdom far away, there were 12 princesses. Their names were Rose, Iris, Daisy, Tulip, Petunia, Bluebell, Clover, Violet. Violet. Zinnia, Lilac, Daffodil, and Poppy. Each one was lovelier than the flower she was named for. Although their lives were charmed, they had developed a mysterious problem. Every morning, without fail, the soles of the princess's shoes were worn out and full of holes. And the princesses spent every day sleeping in the palace garden, snoozing and lounging like cats in the shade. The king had to hire a cobbler especially for the princesses. His name was Pip. He worked day and night to make shoes fit for royalty. Pip liked Princess Poppy because she always told him how beautiful the new shoes were. They are so, she would say as she yawned, lovely, Pip. And she would fall asleep again just like that. Poppy really liked Pip too, but she just couldn't keep her eyes open long enough to say so. The king soon became quite concerned with the princess's strange sleepy habits. How can I expect my daughters to rule the kingdom after me when they spend their days napping? He thought. So he made a proclamation. Solve the mystery of the sleepy princesses, and you shall have any treasure your heart desires, no matter how great. Soon all sorts of scientists, scholars, doctors, detectives, fortune tellers, and philosophers arrived to lend their expertise. They studied the princesses while they slept or tried to sleep. They inspected and inquired, searched and researched, examined and explored. Of course, all of this only made the princesses wearier than ever. The experts tried and tried to explain the mystery of the sleeping princesses and the worn out shoes, but they could not. If the brightest and the best minds in the kingdom cannot help us, who can? The king sighed, and great sorrow fell over the court. Only one person would not give up so easily: Pip. He devised a plan to solve the mystery and went to work immediately. That day, he made himself a pair of the softest, most silent shoes possible. Soft and silent. And that night, after everyone had gone to bed and the castle was dark and still, Pip snuck into the princess's room, put his ear to the door, and waited. Soon he heard a stirring, rustling, swooshing sound, but not a single word, not even a whisper. Pip peeked through the door and saw all 12 princesses dressed in their finest gowns. They looked as though they were going to a grand ball, but their eyes were still closed as if they were sleeping. Are they sleepwalkers? Wondered Pip. But just then, an extraordinary thing happened. A trap door appeared in the floor, and its doors swung wide open. Inside were steep stairs leading down, down, down. The princesses descended one by one, still fast asleep. Pip crept along behind them, quieter than a mouse in his exceptional shoes. Oh my goodness, look at that. Door opens up and they go down and they're all asleep still. The stairs led into a cavern filled with a forest of shimmering, shining, glittering trees made of silver, gold, and diamonds. Perched in the trees were beautiful jewel-colored birds singing quiet lullabies. This is a magic place, thought Pip. No one would believe it unless they saw it. So he broke a few twigs off the trees to keep as proof. Look at there. Diamonds with gold and silver. At the edge of the forest was a dark, dreamy lake with boats waiting in its shore. The princesses stepped aboard, and Pip had to jump on quickly before they began to float silently toward an island. This is definitely some kind of enchantment, thought Pip. On the island was a ballroom with candles flickering and music playing. The princesses began to dance, twirling and turning, dipping and bowing, graceful as ballerinas. No wonder their shoes wear out every night, thought Pip. The princesses danced for hours and hours until morning. Suddenly the music faded, and just as quietly as they had arrived, the princesses left the island. I can't let this continue, said Pip. He had read enough stories to know that kisses are almost always the best antidote for spells, but he was so much of a gentleman that he could only bring himself to kiss Poppy's delicate hand. No sooner had he done so than her eyes fluttered open. And so did all her sisters' eyes. Oh my, they woke up. Before anyone could utter a word, the forest of silver and gold and diamonds began to crumble into vapor and dust. The princesses hurried up the stairs and into the room where the trapdoor slammed shut and disappeared in a whirl of smoke. What happened? Asked Rose, rubbing her eyes. Why are we all dressed up? Yawned Zinnia. You were under a spell, your highnesses, explained Pip. You traveled to an underground land and danced all night. I followed you there and you broke the spell? Asked Poppy, who was quite happy to see Pip. Yes, I suppose I did, said Pip. Let's go tell Father that the mystery is solved, she exclaimed. They rushed to the throne room to give the king the good news, and Pip told this whole story. Do you have proof that this underground land existed? Asked the king. Pip took the silver, gold, and diamond twigs from his pocket. They sparkled in the daylight. I knew there was still magic stirring in these castle walls, said the king. You were more clever and brave than all the wisest people in the kingdom put together, and you saved my daughters from their enchantment. So what reward do you choose? 1,000 bags of gold? A chest of diamonds? A castle of your own? What's your heart's desire? Asked the king. Your Majesty, more than anything else, I'd like to ask for Poppy's hand in marriage, answered Pip nervously. Poppy smiled brightly. Yes, she said. Yes, of course. From that day on, the princesses were happy and lively, and they never spent another day snoozing in the garden. Pip and Poppy were married, and at their wedding, the princesses danced more beautifully and joyfully than they had ever had before. And of course, they all lived happily ever after. Well, I hope you enjoyed that story as much as I did when I was a child. I love you guys.